Good evening, everybody. This might be a relatively short session tonight because we don't have anything to latch on to. As we can see on the Dow chart, even though we're trading up, there's still this downtrending resistance level. We don't seem to be moving with any great enthusiasm. The S&P 500 also has this overhanging resistance level. So we might be bottoming, but it's sure not providing a lot of bullish sentiment. The NASDAQ trading up slowly, but you can see there's down days, and we're up here in the overbought area. So anytime you see a trend that has indecisive trading in it, you got to be aware of any negative news in an uptrend which is not showing any great strength. Any negative news can knock it down pretty quick. So I've been scouting around to see if there's things that we could illustrate that are working. This one is working because you can see the obvious wave 1, wave 2, and then your trend for your bullish flutter kicker going into wave 3. ON was one that somebody had identified earlier last week where your best friend gap up. Now you just have to watch to see if they're taking profits or whether this was just a bad hair day. You need to see how they open this tomorrow. And AUPH was recommended because it was at that level that could have been considered a breakout level, which also means you could also have another big breakout move like this now that the consolidation's over. There you go, Magic. So the sectors that are still showing some strength, AI, with the symbol AI, owning this one with the idea that if they break up through what would be perceived as a resistance level, that would be a good indication that the fry pan bottom breakout, wave 1, wave 2, it breaks out through this level. Now you've got that enthusiasm jumping back in. So one that might be near the bottom coming back up is SOUN. If this starts getting some bullish trading, especially also getting up through this resistance level, should have some good upside. All right. And this is why we kind of emphasize that when you see a best friend signal, that tells you there's a lot of new energy for whatever reason. If there was an announcement, earnings, approval, it tells you that strength usually implies there's going to be more upside, or most of the time it's a 45-degree. And AEHR also has that perspective breakout. You can see wave 1, wave 2. Look where wave 3 started, right smack dab off the 50 where everybody was watching. You stay long on this, or if you want to be aggressive, if this opens positive tomorrow, it's a good indication they came back down, tested the T line, now continuing the uptrend. All right. Good. We recommended shorting T or GTLB. As you can see that pattern. Here's your bearish J-hook pattern. So this makes for another very strong entry. But if this opens lower tomorrow, your doji sandwich would probably imply they're going to come back down and test this level. So these are the type of things where you can get a much better indication of what the pattern is going to do based upon a doji and knowing what it should do after that. So when you can obviously see where there would be a confirmation, I can't even remember what we did. Oh, Roku. Roku was a very good illustration that if it had opened lower today, you could start shorting it immediately because there was your bearish doji sandwich, failing at the 200, failing to support at the 50. So that would have been a good short. Now, look what it did do. It did gap up. Is that setting up for a bullish flutter kicker? Could be. But notice what the nature of this trend is right now. Unless there's something real dynamic tomorrow, that's gone from being a potentially good short position back into the nothing category. So once a chart has a good move or a good potential and it doesn't do it, it's usually telling you, didn't do it. Now go on to something else. All right, and the biggies like Apple starting to run out a little bit of steam up here. So if I was long and this opened lower tomorrow and started trading down through the T line, I'd close it out. Wouldn't pay attention until it comes back up through that level. Amazon, kind of the same scenario. That's a nothing chart. NVIDIA, starting to run out of a little bit of steam, but it hasn't changed the trend yet. Where does it change the trend? If they close this back below the T line. And Netflix hit the 50 today and backed off, but this is why it's very important to recognize the signal itself. You can see the doji after they failed at the 50. What's that kind of imply to us? Well, if they open this lower, the doji rule tells you they definitely failed up here. Get out of a long position. Let's see. Didn't do Tesla. Tesla is still just a nothing chart. Nothing on here that would you really say up. We can recognize what the trend is. We're still stuck in that sideways. All right, good, Walter. All right, so there was the chart. Hopefully I'll be able to. HR. There's that breakout through this resistance level with a doji gap up, doji gap up. So obviously doing it right off the 50. Off the 50, up through the T line, through this breakout level. That tells you there's something new that got into everybody's Knickers, there you go, that there's something new going on in this one. ABS. Not only did it change the downtrend, but today when they gapped it up after a left-right combo, now that becomes a very high probability trade setup. Where would be your first target? Little gap right there. Where will be the second target? The 50-day moving average. Another one that's setting up IOVA for a potential doji or a bullish flutter kicker signal. And if it opens positive and trades positive, what else is it kind of telling us? They're heading for breaking out through this downtrend. All right, and the sector that's acting well, let's see what gold is doing tonight. Yeah, it's holding on, staying above the T line, making a lot of the gold stocks still heading up in a steady uptrend. This is EGO. This is AU. And notice that it opened lower, but they continue to trade it higher. AUY, same scenario. And Barrick's Gold, also the same scenario. So this is a very strong bullish indication. When they open it, especially right on the T line, and then take it back up, that's a pretty good indication the bulls are definitely in control. They're not letting it sell off. And Newmont Mining, for those that like the bigger companies, you can see how this T-line crunch is still pushing up through the resistance level. Let's see what else I got. Rig, doing a little morning star type signal with a gap up. Almost an abandoned baby. So you could be buying that one. Getting a lot of good charts on the biggies like ExxonMobil. Now Occidental, it's okay too. Apache, whoops. Apache also can be bought on positive trading tomorrow. So obviously the oil sector is picking up some strength. I don't know why I have this one on here. Unless it did something after hours. And VNTR, that's a good looking chart. Would suspect next target up in this area. Yeah, I wanted to hold on to see why. Oops, that's not what I wanted. INSW. Oh, they must have done something after hours. Oh, that's why you can't use this. If you see something big after hours, it's showing one share up there. So you can see the normal trading is down here, and that one share up there was probably just a bad tick. Okay, on the short side, there wasn't a whole heck of a lot to get excited about either. Now this one could be a strong wave 1, wave 2, hanging man gap down through the support level, wave 3. Things like Myra starting to sell off. Riot was holding up. I don't know why I do that. But now it's selling off. And Plug was one that is now indicating kind of a possible bearish J-hook taking you down further. Well, there's an easy way to find those stocks early on. Right early in the day, right, things like TC2000 would have put this up toward the top of the list. So if you saw the best friend gapping up, that comes back to where would you be buying this one? And that's a simple process of going to your 10-minute chart, 10-minute chart, and you can see they were really wanting to get into this. Up here, maybe not, but up here, yes. And then would stay long. Now, if you see a sell signal in the last part of the trading day, does that mean you want to get rid of it? The answer is no, because that's probably telling you there's some profit taking at the end of the day. What's that telling you about your total chart? It's still a very strong signal. Oh, Ra, have you read High Profit Candlestick Patterns? Yes, and I'll wait for your answer, Ra. The 3T line, oops, it's not even on that. Oh, yes, it is. The 3T line works effectively in two places. One, as you can see, it's right in here. If you see signals coming up through the 3T or through the T line, get it on your list, Ra. You won't have to be answering or asking those questions. I forget which one it was, but no, that was not a kicker signal. That was a possible Morningstar signal. Now, the reason I point that out is because the whole process of identifying when there's reversals and when there's strong reversals in price moves is based upon the candlestick signals and the patterns. If you don't have a grasp on the 6 bullish signals and the 6 bearish signals, you're just going to be kind of floundering. Just take time. Take one evening, or when you get done finished with the book, go back and go through the 12 major signals so that you visually recognize them, because that's your bread and butter. That's the whole crux of candlestick analysis. Hold on, let me find something where we can illustrate. Okay, so there's a couple functions that the 3T line can do for you. If you see a bullish signal and the 3T line staying up above the T line, that acts like a little confirmation, additional confirmation. The further away you get from the T line, it's not on here, but if all of a sudden the price started moving way above the T line too fast, again, that exuberance at the top, the 3T line now becomes a more effective indicator because the 3T line will be way up here while the T line's down here. Now you can use that as an extra indicator to say, oops, we're way above the 3T line, we're way above the, we're way above the T line, we're way above the 3T line, but the 3T lines are going to tell us when things are actually truly rolling over. So it acts like a bullish or a confirmation, and then it also acts as an additional indicator that when you've moved too far from the T line, it becomes much more effective. Now this is BTG. Somebody pointed this one out right before the close today. You can see it's still in a nice steady uptrend after the little bobble breakout. And also note how the little bobble breakout was additionally confirmed by the fact that they used the T line as support and they never were able to close it below the T line. Oh, I don't think these did very much. Harley, still on a downtrend. And Wolverine really didn't do anything. I always liked Wolverine. There was I think they were actually here in Pittsburgh. There was a Wolverine toy company way back in the 1800s. Very collectible. All right. So we're not seeing a whole lot of bullish sentiment. Notice in the S&P 500 that still remaining below the T line. And look what it did today. It closed below where it opened. Right now, it looks like the YMs, the Dow futures, they're just trading flat. Okay. Unfortunately, not unfortunately, but here's what keeps you from forcing a trade. Rob, that's up to you. It goes back to the analysis of saying add whatever you want to your chart. If it's something that eventually over the next few weeks you find, well, this isn't very useful, just take it back off. And the reason we can say that is the most effective parts of a chart is the signals themselves. Everything else is just a confirming indicator. So some people have the 20 SMA on their chart. I prefer the 34 EMA. So I try to keep the chart as clear or plain as possible so that the signals themselves are more accentuated. All right, so we had a good option training session this weekend. I hope it was good for everybody. I was hoping we would come out of the chute today with something real dynamic, but unfortunately, this market is not real dynamic right now. So with that, are there any general questions on candlestick analysis? unfortunately, as I say, there's not a whole lot going on in this market. So the ones that are moving are Magic's Magic, the Best Friend breakouts, BRBR, your bullish flutter kicker signal. We're slowly accumulating AI, more for not a short-term trade, but say a longer-term trade, meaning 3, 5, 10 trading days, that it gets through this level, it could have another strong run. All right, all right, Jim, let's go ahead and do the double line. And in 4.1 second, let's do the next level double line. And let's see, comms. Darn, I don't remember hitting the J every time. I think this has got something built into it. Yes, that's not a good sign. If you bought this one during the day and you stayed long, there's only one thing you want to be looking for. It opens positive and starts trading positive. It starts trading lower, close it out immediately. That's a failed chart. Oracle, that's a good potential breakout right about in that area. And you've got the potential of a J-hook plus, meaning it came up through the 50, now did a little best friend signal, and you kind of a little J-hook. I wouldn't be afraid to be buying that one on positive trading. Oh, what was that? Well, 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 what's going on here? No. Nothing there yet. Now you do have the big left-right combo, the failure at the 50. If you're buying this one tomorrow, you want to make sure it gets up through the 50, giving you kind of a bobble breakout. Apps, that's a fry pan bottom, setting up nicely. What was the other fry pan bottom? Oh. So this one you can buy on positive trading tomorrow, giving you a doji sandwich fry pan bottom confirmation. Electronic Arts, you can see that this broke out through a level everybody else was watching, but we could see it was a fry pan bottom breaking out through that level. Oh, pshaw, what the heck is going on here? Okay. WWE, that's a little bobble breakout. You could be buying this one with the expectation the first target is right here. Yes, you would call that a J-hook, but again, more defined, it's a bobble breakout. Hit the failure level, came right back to the T-line for support, and then came back up through that level. Hicks, stay short. But now you watch to see what they do here at the 200. Oh, I'm sorry, at the 50. GTLB. I'd be ready to short this one on weakness tomorrow, giving you a bearish J-hook pattern. Doji sandwich confirmation. Let's say it the other way. Doji sandwich, bearish doji sandwich is giving you a bearish J-hook confirmation. Are we looking at the same chart, CJ? That looks nothing like AI. That's a nothing chart. Didn't have a reversal signal, and there's no buying. AI hit the bottom of the trend channel with a Morningstar signal, double doji. Yeah, are we CJ? I can't even imagine those two charts looking the same. VIST. VIST you can be buying. Still not a real dynamic chart, but I would buy it on the basis that it should test that level. You got a Morningstar best friend signal. I get ready to short Carnival. Get ready to short Royal Caribbean. And get ready to short Norwegian. Caterpillar. That's kind of a nothing chart. You got a left-right combo. I wouldn't be buying it until it gets up through the T-line. XLE, the energy sector, you could be buying on strength. Union Pacific. Now that's a left-right combo that did confirm. That one you can be buying. It's not going to give you tremendous returns, but the probabilities of it heading higher is extremely strong. So that'd be one where you probably want to do a bullish spread on that one. CMC, you can be buying this one on strength, but that strength would have to be above today's open. Oh, are you asking if that would be a doji sandwich? No, that would be stretching it. So that's a bearish, not a doji, but just a bearish candle. Nah, I wouldn't put that in the doji sandwich category. And PYXS, that's not a real exciting chart either. Now you do have the prospects of a message, but you definitely need to get confirmation. That would be one that I'd have my doubts about. FedEx. You can possibly, oh boy, you could be looking at a 45-degree on strength. DCTX. Not anything real wild and exciting on this one. You could be buying it on strength with the anticipation they're breaking this downtrend, but then you got to watch to see what happens once it gets up here. Disney. That's kind of a nothing chart, no direction. Airbnb. That's a definite nothing chart. Nah, you need to see something more. You're in a kind of a downtrend. That wouldn't be anything that I would go after one way or the other. Let's put it this way, there's too many other good charts out there than trying to figure out what this sideways one is trying to do. T-Mobile, that's a nothing chart. Just moving sideways, and as you can see, it's not a very vivacious mover. So a lot of the charts out there right now are just sideways. That's why today was kind of frustrating. I kept scrolling up and down on my watch list to see if anything was showing any decent movement, and there wasn't anything. TNX, fry pan off the 200. That's not really a fry pan. A fry pan would be much more identifiable. That's just basing down here. Now, doesn't mean you can't buy it on positive trading, because it did support off the 200. But you'd be buying this one based on lots of indecision down here and then closing above the T line. Tesla, it's still having a hard time getting through the perceived resistance level. Robert, that was the first book, right? You get a lot more meat in the high profit candlestick patterns. So in the first book, kind of going through the philosophy of the candlestick for the Japanese rice traders, showing you all 50 or 60 of the signals, whereas high profit candlestick patterns gets a little bit more meaty, showing you how, going much deeper in description of the 12 major signals and the patterns. What's that mean? I don't know what that means, Chris. Why say above the open? Wouldn't it be above the close? I don't know on which one that one was, Cynthia. Well, we did this one. Well, you're not sitting here. This one's a nice breakout, can be bought on positive trading. You could buy this one. Watch to see what it does at the 200, and we did this one. Another one you could be buying because of the left-right combo gap up. You're in the overbought condition. You started seeing a lot of exuberance, and you've moved away from the T-line. I would probably put a stop at early in the morning. If it opens and waffles around, I'd have a stop at yesterday's or Friday's high. Because if it comes down through there, that means they're profit taking. Because notice how far away you are from the T-line, and then your 3T line should be up in this range tomorrow. Okay. I know in high profit candlestick pattern, it says to buy stocks that are going up. But I have trust issues buying a stock like Oracle that is 7 days up. Can you explain the logic to maybe build a little confidence in that strategy? Luke, got an article going out to one of the major, I don't know whether it's going to the Wall Street Journal, but that we're kind of taught how to invest incorrectly. So the fact that this has been up for 7 days doesn't mean a hill of beans. They're still buying. And if they buy above this level, that means they're still buying. When would you sell this one? When you see a sell signal. So remember, just because a stock has gone up a number of days doesn't mean that's bad. You can see where they did a left-right combo, doji sandwich, doji, support off the 50, now positive, stochastic still heading up, and everybody and their brother is watching to see what it's going to do here at the breakout level. So the confidence level should be identifying where price moves start. And I've heard saying that most, and I know we were all taught how to invest incorrectly, because the mantra of Wall Street through the years has been buy good quality companies with good earnings, good growth prospects, and hold it long term and you're going to make money. Well, that's a bunch of poppycock. That's why I got out of the brokerage business, because that didn't work. You can have the best company in the world, and if nobody's buying it, it doesn't mean a hill of beans. MIR, your long-legged doji off the 200, you can be buying this one. So back to Oracle. It's not the number of days that it was trading up, because you can see there was a bullish reversal, a doji sandwich, a kind of a J-hook plus. Now you're watching to see if everybody's going to take it through this level. All right, so the futures aren't doing much of anything. And these are just nothing charts. I wouldn't be surprised. Roy, yeah, been eating hot soup tonight, so getting a little bit better on the mend. So there's your downtrending channel on the Dow. Still needs to get up through that level. Okay, we're done early tonight. Not so much from anything else other than the fact that this market just is not showing a whole lot of information as far as which ones are moving the best. And I scoured to find things. So who was asking about Oracle? So here's another example. This one's been in an uptrend ever since your bullish doji sandwich. And so how do we mitigate that fear factor as, oh, it's been trading up for a long time? The T-line. As long as we don't see a sell signal and a close below the T-line. WISA. Yep, doji. That one. You first find out what was the news that caused that move, and then you can be buying that one on strength. Rig, doing a Morningstar signal, double bottom. That one you could be buying. Just watch to see what happens at the 50. Will, definitely. We're not going anywhere. The Dow, that's the S&P, that's still in this predominant downtrend, and the NASDAQ. Oops. Notice the color of your candles up here. Red, indecision, tried to take it up, another red. That's not very convincing that the bulls are in control. FC, that's if you want to gut it out and think that the weekly charts are what are telling you is going on right now, because if they open the NASDAQ down and start taking it down, I would suggest you're still caught in a downward move, and it wouldn't matter what the weekly chart was telling us. I don't know. What does the weekly chart tell us? That's still not anything real decisive. Look at your stochastics going sideways, and really no major trend. So I wouldn't say the weekly charts are. No. FC. I'm not seeing anything on the weekly charts that tell us they're offsetting the daily. Oh, that's not a great looking chart. There was your doji lower open. So getting up toward the overbought area, you see a doji. Now remember what normally happens in human nature. Got a strong move, it pulls back. Starts up for the next strong move. So what do we need to see? We need to see it breach this level. If they do a sell signal before they get to this level, it's pretty much telling the bulls that it's not enough strength to get up, and the bears start taking control and they start selling. Rob, yeah, that's all I can tell you, unless hopefully you were in the right direction. Did you ever see the movie The Big Short, which was where a bunch of guys figured out that the mortgage packages they were putting together weren't the quality that the rating services were giving them? And finally, when the bubble burst and they were crashing, forget the one guy that was kind of wild crazy. His partners kept saying, we need to cover, because, I don't know, was it with Lehman Brothers, or Bear Stearns, one of them, said, if we don't cover and get our money, that company may be gone. So there's times where you have to kind of say, all right, I've got a good profit, let me get out. If you were long and you bought thinking it was going to bounce, yeah, that just got caught. AI, I would still be a buyer of this one, especially off a double doji positive open tomorrow. And SOUN, SOUN. Get ready. Positive trading tomorrow could give you a doji sandwich. Micron earnings tomorrow might have strong reaction. Yeah, but that's where you have to see how they're trading it going right into the close. Not necessarily YM. I would be holding AI on the basis that if it gets up through this level, that would be your first target. If it breaks that level, now you've got this potential. But that doesn't necessarily mean I'd be holding it long term. I'd be holding it because we gave an example of that today in the chat room. Remember the electric vehicles, when they got hotter than a $2 pistol? They ran and made some big money with it. and everybody was saying, oh, you got to be investing in electric vehicles because that's the blah, 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 the future. Well, at some point, equilibrium comes in, and that's where the candlestick charts tell you it's time to take profits and wait for it to do another signal. Now, QuantumScape has a little bit, this one is because it's in a hot sector. QuantumScape is more of a speculation that they've got a lot of money going into the research of a solid-state battery. So the speculation here is if they ever come out with an announcement that they're getting very close or ready to go into automobile production with it, you're not going to have time to get into it. It could be a $20, $30, $40, $80, $100 stock before you blink an eye. So anyway, that's a different scenario. You're buying, and you see the buying come in to have positions that if they ever do announce something, it's going to be big, big profits. I made the Antar, now I'm working here, Medicare, find stocks going to the stars early while I eat breakfast. Okay, good, magic. Let's see, is this, no, that's not Nordstrom's. Jackson Financial. Yep, they may have hit bottom with a piercing signal off the 200, now a gap up. So you could be buying this one on positive trading, giving you a doji sandwich breakout. Now, I'm still not, and I shouldn't even say this, the comfort level for these markets is still not real great. You're in a downtrend. Your stochastics are coming up, but not with any great enthusiasm. You're still below the resistance level. And when it's indecisive like this, if there's any rumor that something negative is happening in Europe or Asia or any place, it's going to be much more susceptible to selling right away. So that's why I've been kind of advocating that if you're in anything on the long side, make sure you have your stops in place and just kind of be oriented toward finding good short positions. Okay. Guess we'll call it a night. You don't ever draw bull flags or head and shoulders on your charts. I don't, but you can visually recognize them. So you can draw whatever you want to on the chart. Trying to think of flags. And we're not trading them, but if we recognize them, we know that everybody else is recognizing them. We want to see what type of signals and patterns are telling us which direction they're coming out of that pattern. FANG, you could be buying this one, but again, not a real dynamic chart. I would suggest it's probably at best coming back up to test this area, which would be putting you right at the 200. Okay, everybody. We'll see you bright and early in the morning. We'll see you then.